Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute most fascinating, mind-bending puzzles in all of American history. We're talking about the only unsolved case of air piracy in the history of commercial aviation. Imagine this, a scenario straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, but it actually happened. A guy hijacks a passenger jet, bags a massive ransom, literally jumps out of the plane mid-flight and just vanishes. Poof, gone. Over 50 years later, his real name, his identity, what actually happened to him, it's all a total blank. I am so pumped to walk you through this incredible story today. Let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the ordinary passenger. Every truly great mystery starts out looking completely ordinary, right? It's November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve. A man buys a simple $20 ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He boards Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, just doing a quick hop from Portland up to Seattle. If you looked at him sitting there, there was absolutely nothing that would set off any alarm bells. He's dressed really sharp, dark suit, black tie, a little mother-of-pearl tie clip, and he looks completely calm. He doesn't look like a threat at all, he just looks like a guy commuting home for the holidays. In fact, he settles in, politely orders a bourbon and water, pays his tab, and even tips the flight attendant. There's just this ironclad deceptive normalcy about the guy, which makes what happens next so completely chilling.
Section 2. The demands and escape. So literally moments after takeoff, that calm vibe completely shatters. He politely hands a little note to the flight attendant. Now, at first she just slips it right into her pocket, probably figuring, oh, just another lonely businessman giving me his number. But Cooper leans in and says, "Miss, you'd better look at that note." He tells her he's got a bomb in his briefcase. And just like that, a completely routine puddle jumper turns into a full-blown, high-stakes hostage crisis. Just to prove he isn't bluffing, he pops his briefcase open just a crack, letting her see a mess of wires and these big red cylinders. Then he lays it all out. He wants cash, and he wants parachutes. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of what he's asking for. He didn't just want a few bucks for a quick getaway. He demanded exactly $200,000 in cash. Back in 1971, that was a staggering absolute mountain of money. We're talking the equivalent of over $1.5 million today. But here's where his true tactical genius shows. It wasn't the cash that was the smartest move. It was the parachutes. He didn't just ask for one to save himself. He demanded exactly 4 parachutes. Why 4? Well, by asking for multiple chutes, he basically forces the FBI to assume he's taking hostages with him when he jumps. That guaranteed the authorities wouldn't try to hand him dummy or rigged equipment. It was a terrifyingly smart move that kept law enforcement completely on their toes, totally guessing about his next move. Let's trace how this crazy timeline actually unfolds. The plane lands in Seattle, and the authorities on the ground are not taking any chances with those explosives. They comply. They safely get all 36 terrified passengers off the plane, and in exchange, Cooper gets his $200,000 and his 4 parachutes. But of course, he doesn't just run for the fence. Instead, he orders the pilots to take off again, this time pointing the plane south towards Mexico. But he gives them really specific flight instructions. He says, keep the plane low, under 10,000 feet, and keep the speed incredibly slow. Then, right in the middle of the flight, cruising over the absolute dense, rugged wilderness of the Pacific Northwest, Cooper does the unthinkable. He steps out of the main cabin, lowers the rear-aft stairway of the Boeing 727, and wearing literally nothing but a suit and a trench coat, lugging 21 pounds of cash, he just jumps right out into a freezing, rain-swept, pitch-black sky. And this brilliantly illustrates the real shocker. When the plane finally landed safely, he was just gone. Take a second to let the absolute magnitude of that sink in. A guy extorts a fortune, leaps out of a commercial jet into a literal tempest, and leaves behind zero physical trace of himself in that cabin. Nothing but his clip-on tie and a lingering cloud of cigarette smoke. Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 3. The massive FBI investigation. As you can imagine, a stunt like this kicks off one of the absolute most exhaustive manhunts in American history. They called it Operation Norjack. The FBI launches this absolutely enormous response, and they're tasked with scouring some of the most unforgiving, brutal terrain in North America. We are talking jagged mountains, deep, rushing rivers, and these endlessly thick pine forests. You had military troops, helicopters, and local cops literally marching shoulder to shoulder through the wilderness for years. And the suspect list? Oh, they brought in thousands of people. Literally anyone with a criminal record, skydiving experience, or frankly, just a sudden pile of cash was hauled in and interrogated. But despite blanketing the whole country in this unprecedented dragnet, no one was ever definitively identified. Every single promising lead they got just eventually hit a massive brick wall.
So, the trail goes completely, agonizingly cold. For almost a decade, it's totally silent. Until, suddenly, bam, we jump forward to 1980.
Out of nowhere, we get a massive break in the case. A young boy is digging a fire pit in the sand on the banks of the Columbia River at a place called Tennebar. Suddenly, he uncovers these 3 bundles of decaying $20 bills. The FBI checks it out, and the serial numbers are a perfect match to the 1971 ransom cash. Miraculously, some of the rubber bands holding the stacks together hadn't even rotted away yet. Now, this discovery was a total game changer because it definitively proved that at least a chunk of that ransom actually survived the fall. But here's the really chilling part. While the money was found slowly rotting in the sand, Cooper himself was never found. It's like the earth gave back a tiny fraction of the cash, but completely swallowed the man whole.
Section 4. An enduring American mystery. You know, this cold case still totally grips us today, even 50 years later, because it just taps directly into our natural human obsession with the unknown. It just leaves us with these burning questions we can't stop asking. Did he actually survive that jump? I mean, plunging into the dead of night, right into the teeth of a freezing rainstorm over completely brutal terrain, wearing nothing but a pair of loafers and a trench coat? Or did he just die out there in the wild? Did those dark, freezing forests of the Pacific Northwest just claim him the very second he hit the ground, keeping his remains perfectly hidden from the world for over half a century?
So, the crucial point is, what if he somehow pulled it off, against absolutely astronomical odds? Did he conquer that wilderness, take his money, and live the rest of his life in total, absolute secret? Did this guy actually pull off the perfect crime and just walk away to start a whole new life?
This whole saga just leaves us with one incredibly provocative thought. To this day, nobody knows who D.B. Cooper really was. He is a literal phantom. He remains one of the single most fascinating, mythic figures in American history. Just an ordinary-looking guy who pulled off the most extraordinary vanishing act we've ever seen. What do you think happened when he stepped off that stairway into the dark? I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity about this incredible historical puzzle. Keep asking those questions, keep digging into the facts, and I will see you in the next explainer.